All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to another Digital Jamaica Live. I'm your host,
Yes.
Kadia Francis.
And I'm the co host, Monique McIntosh.
All right. So, to our viewers on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, welcome, welcome, welcome. Coming up on the show, the tech word of the day and our trivia question. And in today's tech news segment, the GOJ, the government of Jamaica, through their SURF program, is making available $1 billion Jamaican dollars in funding for SMEs to enhance their digital capabilities. We're going to find out more about what that means exactly. The Jamaica International Arbitration Center Limited launches iNeutral, the Caribbean's first online dispute resolution platform. And this is for businesses.
That sound festive.
Yes, telemedicine and in-home care features are features of the soon-to-be launched integrated health information system, according to the minister. This is health going digital. Okay, we'll find out more about that. And the Jamaican-owned business Rock Mobile is set to become our third telecommunications provider with a mandate to provide services to unserved and underserved areas. And we're going to find out more about what that new license entails.
Yo, that sounds festive. I am so excited to get into all of this. Further on, though, on technically speaking, we have some amazing guests, and I'm excited. Coming up is Carla Moore, life coach and healer. We also have Kristina Neal, policy and research officer at We Change, and Anika Repole-Wilson, who is all about mental well-being and a cannabis advocate. They all join us to talk about digital well-being, how digital creatives can cope with anxiety, depression, and loneliness. But guys, we want to hear from you in real time. Add your 2 cents in the comments, in the chat section, and we will share what we think are the best or shareable comments with our viewers on the stream.
Awesome, awesome. So the Digital Jamaica Live show is sponsored by G5 Cybersecurity Limited, protecting businesses and families online. Visit www.g5cybersecurity.limited.com to find out if you are compliant with the Data Protection Act, and for some other useful services, because we all know, cyber issues and vulnerabilities are a big thing these days. So visit the website and get yourself situated.
Awesome. Okay, so today's word of the day is FOMO. So FOMO is a sociocultural phenomenon, according to Dan Herman. He's a consumer behavior expert who discovered and coined the term in 1996. So it come from far, yeah? He describes it as a clearly fearful attitude towards the possibility of failing to exhaust available opportunities and missing the expected joy associated with succeeding in doing so. Fancy twist up way of saying you're kind of bad mind the people them who get to enjoy the thing where you never participated. In layman's terms, FOMO is a fear or anxiety of missing out, fear of missing out on something that's happening online when we're not online. As horrible as it might sound, social anxieties are normal and can be triggered by societal pressures, consumerism, culture, so many things, including traditional expectations and technology, as it turns out. And this information is actually an excerpt from our upcoming guide to influencer marketing for Jamaicans. You guys know that we also have a trivia question, and the prize, guys, is coming from proud Jamaicans. So una have to ready up on yourself, yeah? You ready? Today's trivia question is: this popular internet slang is used a lot. in a lot of rap songs, and actually the Queen Bee herself, Beyonce, used it in a mega hit Savage remix with Megan Thee Stallion. But what does demon time actually mean? The first person to drop the correct answer in the chat will win an item from the Proud Jamaica merch store. You can actually choose what along the merch line you want, except for their doormats. And so, guys, get your fingers ready. Type up, share, and let us know if you know the answer to this question.
Awesome. It's the second week that prize is, well, that prize went unclaimed last week. Let's see who will claim those prizes this week. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So moving straight into our news segment. So the government of Jamaica, we've talked about the SERVE program before here. And it's a part of the economic recovery program that the government has rolled out. And so we've been hearing different bits and pieces of it. And in this time around, it's about MSMEs and how or what the government plans to do with respect to that group of people. What are they going to do to make sure that MSMEs can recover quickly from COVID, because they've been affected.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most affected group, right? So they are going to be providing 1 billion with a B, Jamaican dollars to enhance their digital capabilities. Now, to qualify for this, you would have had to already qualify for the Development Bank of Jamaica's Go Digital grant fund. And that Go Digital grant fund is a voucher. DBJ, they do these voucher things, and it covers the digitalization of what they call key processes such as payment and accounting systems, integration of new software tools to improve productivity, marketing, digital marketing, improvement of website or developing your website, app development, and social media content creation. So if you already qualify for that DBJ grant, and that is up to $200,000, then you will now be eligible for up to an additional $800,000 in loan from the SERVE program, and that's with a 2% interest on that loan. Now, we know that the government has been talking a lot about digitalization and digital commerce and the digital economy. So this is another part of that effort to kind of push Jamaican businesses online and to build out our e-commerce infrastructure. So the funding is meant to, and this is according to the Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, the funding is meant to help MSMEs display your products online, allow customers to interact with your product online, and to purchase your product online. Now, of course, we'll always have questions. We'll always have questions. And one of the questions is, why do you need $1 million to put your stuff online? That's what I said. I already was like, this is cool. This is great. Why would it cost you $1 million to put your shit online? It's free. I don't understand where, because if it's just to put your stuff online, according to the Minister Clark, Dr. Clark, then you don't need $1 million. So I'm wondering if there's more that we're not getting. There's more information that we're not getting, or
I think that you're looking from the perspective of someone who creates this content and puts it online. Because if I'm really, outside of that space and I don't have a clue, I do have to contract somebody and I have to pay them, So
$1 million?
Well, agency fee is not cheap. Social media,
but it doesn't say anything about paying agency fees. That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if there's more information that we're not getting, because literally the minister said to put your stuff online and so people can purchase it online. So maybe it's part of the whole building your website thing, but you already had $200,000. To be honest with you, $200,000 to build a website. kind
True,
of
true.
slim, kind of
Yeah.
slim. But okay, I'm just saying, wasn't there a program before where they were contracting some American entity to give
Eh,
some small
eh,
businesses free
eh,
websites and
Do
PayPal?
not, do not pass go. Do not collect $200, Canadian.
Okay, I'm just saying, what
Turn
happened to that program?
around.
Okay, so another question I have is, what about the reform? Because in our first episode with we were talking about ends, and we had Stacey Hines on, who's the president of the Jamaica Technology and
And
Digital
Digital
Alliance.
Alliance.
She said it. We can talk about e-commerce till the cows come home without the proper legal framework and policy. We're not going anywhere. So I hear a lot of talk about the end results, the end goals, but I'm not hearing about the infrastructural things that we need to do to ensure that this thing is sustainable and that it is viable, not just for established businesses, but for small businesses as well, which raises another question about access to the funding. But that aside, I need to hear more about policy and legal framework. What about taxes? How is the government going to be collecting taxes from these entities if they're online? What about dispute resolution? What
Yeah.
if it is that I have a complaint or an issue with one of these online businesses? How do I resolve that issue? To the courts, what do I do? What is the process? So I need to hear, more about
About
that.
it. Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It just means more funding for businesses, and God knows we can
We
never be
need
too
it.
short
Yeah.
of
And it's
funding.
and the 2% interest rate really isn't bad,
Yeah,
especially when you look at what's going on in the market. So
sure.
it's a good look.
Yeah. So the next news item, Monique.
Okay, so the Jamaican International Arbitration Center launches iNeutral, which is the Caribbean's first online dispute resolution platform. So, first and foremost, this would be the first and only online dispute resolution platform in the entire Western Hemisphere. When they're talking about services to include mediation, conciliation, facilitated contract renegotiation, all of these services when you might need a third party to go through these business functions, neutral evaluation, adjudication, arbitration, and restorative justice from a panel of experienced domestic and international arbitrators. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck describes it as a complementary alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Um, and we're excited to see these movements and changes
Yeah,
and stuff happening, especially within the legal infrastructure,
because it's
because
slow.
because it's so slow.
Yeah.
And right now, we're facing many situations where not to the matter of here, but cases and stuff are being piled up and backed up all the way to 2025. And naturally, if the court and legal system is so backed up, arbitration and things like that, they just totally get left behind. Like they don't get the emphasis that they really deserve. But we have a couple questions because there's actually a dispute resolution foundation.
A very well established dispute resolution
So,
foundation.
I mean, this kind of make you go,
To be honest, Monique, when I saw it, I thought the Dispute Resolution Foundation
was
is
behind
now
it.
online. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
this was their program, and then
Yeah.
I read about the. I've never heard of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center Limited. I've never heard of them. So, and this is the first time I'm seeing any mention of them anywhere. So, what I
Right.
want to know is, will these decisions be binding? Because we do have a dispute resolution foundation that is a part of that mechanism,
Yeah.
the arbitration adjudication mechanism. So if they're not involved
Yeah.
and they are
Max.
the official system,
Yeah.
this
How
other
does this
system,
work?
how does it work? Yeah. So is it binding, or is it some kind of gentleman's agreement that, okay, let's go here, so, and we're just going to shake hands on it and call it a day? And then, because a part of the dispute resolution foundation is if you have not been able to reach a satisfactory
Amicable.
between the two parties, there it goes back to be adjudicated in the court.
Yes.
So what happens in this I mean, there's a whole built out, established mechanism. So
Framework.
if that's not the mechanism that's in play here,
Mhm.
what's this new thing, and how does it work, and is it binding, and does it even make sense? That's
Yeah.
that's the question I have for
Yeah.
that. But I mean, great. But I want to know more from a legal standpoint.
Standpoint. And as I said, just how all of this kind of works together.
Yeah.
And I think we've had some conversations too, Kadia, where this always ends up being the problem. We get some information, there's innovation happening, movement is happening,
Yeah.
but you're still left with so many questions about how this fits in and where it works. It seems like we love to introduce new committees and fancy names and stuff rather than actually fixing and developing some of the existing infrastructure and framework that we have. But
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a really good point, because sometimes it's just a matter of developing what we already have. But I
Yeah.
don't think this is I think this is a private thing. I think it's a private sector thing.
initiative.
I think it's a business community initiative.
Okay.
Yeah. But I still want to know, is it binding? Because that's
Yeah.
really the whole
That's the
point
crux
of
of the
mediation.
matter.
Yeah. Is it
That's the
going to be
crux of the
binding?
matter. Yeah.
All right. So Minister Tufton announced that the government is working on an integrated health information system. And he said what that pretty much means is that healthcare in Jamaica is going digital. All right. Okay, so supposedly this system will reduce transaction time and cost, and they've already moved ahead with training over 100 healthcare professionals to be able to use this system to do whatever. There's not a lot of information out there about it, but I mean, our healthcare system needs a massive overhaul. And digital technology is good. Technology works in a lot of ways to improve systems and stuff, but the systems have to have at least a decent infrastructure
Foundation.
first before you come slap technology
On top of it.
just slap technology on it. Technology is not the panacea. It's not gonna miraculously fix a system that is so tragically broken. So what are we doing to make sure that the healthcare system is at least functional because then what we're doing is we're transferring perennial problems online.
Yeah.
Or we're just taking perennial problems digital.
Yeah.
And that makes no sense. So I would like to hear more about what are the things that they're going to do to fix some of the problems that we're having in the healthcare sector, and then take that digital, because they're talking about, telemedicine and healthcare. I mean, WebMD, WebLink, is it WebLink? Or WebMD link? What's the name of? There is actually a
MD link.
MD link, right? There is actually a telemedicine service that is already out and about. So I don't know if the government saw that and go, oh well, this thing works. But telemedicine, guys, isn't new. It's just becoming more prevalent because COVID. Doctors have been providing telecare to patients far across the seas. Even surgery has been they've had surgical operations being done digitally. So it is not new, and I love the effort the government is putting into this whole digital thing. They're saying it with their chest, right? They're not just saying things, they're actually making moves. But at the same time, we need to look at the infrastructure of some of these things so that we're careful that we're not literally moving
the problems around.
The problem.
Shaking it, put it in a grab bag, shake it up, and then you
exactly. And lastly, money. Rap Mobile, a local company, a Jamaican-owned company, is set to become Jamaica's third telecoms provider. Listen to me now.
Third for a second time. Because Clara came and left.
Well, the third established telecoms provider was struggling with Flow and Digital. No
I'm
lie.
telling you.
Monique, I'm telling you, I had to leave Flow because I was being blocked from website that I usually would have gone to because there are some issues with their IP address. Certain IP address being issued by Flow have been blocked. And it turns out that we're sharing IP addresses, which I'm told by an IT professional should not be the case. Yeah. And because of that, if your IP is blocked, then but if you are on the same IP address and you try to access certain website, you're also going to be blocked. So I was getting that a lot through Flow.
Yeah.
Switch to Digicel. It's not as bad, but I'm still having the same problems. So there's so many issues abound right now, and the hope is that this third telecoms provider will
competition.
will add competition to the market and get everybody to straighten up.
Fix up a little bit.
Yeah, so the cabinet has approved the license to Rock Mobile to enter the telecoms market in Jamaica. Minister Vaz says this is in keeping with the government's push towards increasing broadband access to unserved and underserved areas to promote competition, innovation, and diversity in the telecoms industry and ensure optimum return in the shortest possible time for the spectrum assigned. So Rock Mobile will be expected to provide 95% population coverage as a specified minimum download rate. Don't even worry about that. It's just this is a part of it. The government put out a bid, right? And this is a part of it. So there are minimum requirements that this new telecom provider will have to meet, right? So full rollout of this service is expected within 2 years, and the service is to be launched within 12 months of the granting of the license. And it seems that Minister Vaz is making it very clear that we will take it back if y'all don't know what you need to do
and get yourselves
time. So let's see what they come up with, Monique. Let's see how much of a help.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm
cautiously optimistic because we've been here before. I think Anika chimed in and said Carousel was in the mix. We had Claro who came, and because of other competitive reasons in different markets and stuff, they chose to leave the Jamaican market and double down on the markets where they were actually pervasive and already a big part of their infrastructure. So I'm glad that it's a Jamaican company. Were born and bred from home, and I want them to succeed. But just kind of reserving my energy and reserving the extraness and the heightness until me see what them come with, because we need it. That's just the truth. We need it. And so many places are getting either spotty or just no service at all. You step into one room, your modem is in a room.
Kingston, much less out of Kingston.
Your modem in the living room, and as you step into the bathroom, you're not on the internet. And you're supposed to get certain internet speeds, and you pay for internet speeds, and you're not getting even 10% of what you pay for. So let's see.
All right, guys. So coming up next, we have three beautiful ladies here who will be talking to us about mental health. Because you see, the thing is, Monique, as digital creatives, we are... So some of us, it's our job. Some of us is just we're online to build our brands or businesses or whatever. But the online space can get so toxic, and it can get it can be overwhelming. I mean, from simple things like
it can suck a lot of creative juice out of you too. Because you're trying to create and even stay present within the community. You have to invest that.
Roger says my internet only works on the right side of my bed.
Roger, they can relate. Mine work at the bottom of the bed. If I go up to the top, if I lie down, it don't work good. I have to stay by the bottom of the... Oh God, I can relate.
All right, So, guys, yeah, we realized that it was a struggle for a lot of persons online, and it's simple things like, what do I post, when do I post, how do I engage, how do I
Yeah.
respond to, it's simple things like that that can, and if you already suffer or struggled with mental health issues, then it can exacerbate issues. So, guys, help
Yeah.
us welcome to Digital Jamaica Live, Carla Moore,
Yay!
Kristina Neal, and
Yay!
Anika Repole-Wilson. Hi, ladies. Welcome.
Woo!
Hi, thank
Welcome,
you for
welcome.
having me.
Definitely.
Hi
Thank you,
guys.
guys, for being here. So, Carla, I'm gonna start with you because you are known, madam,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for more talk, more talk. It's a
Yes.
very, you have this really awesome ability to connect on a very emotional level
Yeah.
with people, and you're very
Intimate.
open and you're very honest about how you're feeling emotionally. So we thought you'd be a perfect person to talk about this because you
Yeah.
also share your struggles, the struggles
Yeah.
that you have there. So tell us about how More Talk came about and about your own personal struggles with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Carla, are you muted? We're not hearing you.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, we see this all the time with the Zoom stuff, you know.
Is your volume up or not hearing you?
Still not hear you.
Do you have headphones or? I'm not sure what is happening. When check your mic, Carla, to see if the mic that you are is the mic that is connected to StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Anika.
Yes, ma'am.
Anika, guys, is an entrepreneur who uses her platform to talk a lot about mental well-being, and you have a particular way that you go about dealing with it. But would you mind sharing your story about that with us, about your struggles with mental health?
Um, okay, so about 2 years ago, Lord, you put me on full screen, okay. About 2 years ago, actually it's no three, I decided to embrace my personal story around mental health. I think I don't know what motivated me at the very moment, but I think it came from a place of wanting more visibility for myself when I was really struggling. And when I came to a place where I felt more settled in myself and where I was going, and I felt a little bit more stable, I decided to put myself out there. And so really just was honest with my audience and put out a post that spoke about how I can recognize my triggers when my depression is flaring up and what I do to maintain productivity, which is a big challenge for many entrepreneurs if you're struggling with mental health, how you maintain productivity. So I put out those tips, and then the feedback was incredible. And ever since then, it has been an evolving journey, and I have now shifted even further into channeling the platform of entrepreneur mental wellness as being
Mm-hmm.
one of my primary pillars for my business, even going forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's it in a nutshell. But overall, I do struggle with anxiety and I struggle
Yeah.
with depression. And let me rephrase that. I am surviving and thriving with anxiety and depression.
Okay. All right, Anika. And Kristina. All right. So, guys, I was scrolling on my Twitter and I saw a tweet talking about a space And you guys know Twitter Spaces is now, within our region and stuff like that. Yeah. So Kristina, you recently held a space and invited persons to talk about their own stories and what they've faced around their own mental health journey. What motivated you to do that? Where's that coming from?
Hi. So one of the reasons why I decided to create that space was, well, firstly, this year was a particularly difficult year for me with my mental health. Just for transparency's sake, I have bipolar 2 disorder, and let me apologize for the sound in the background. I am officially diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, as well as major depressive disorder, as well as anxiety, and a whole host of other things. And this year was particularly challenging for me. And the week before hosting the spaces was also particularly challenging for me. And I was just tweeting about my experience, and I tend to do that. And then, I don't know, it kind of clicked to me to just host a space. And when I say host a space, honestly, the intention of the space was, as I had mentioned, it was really just about finding community with people who have these experiences. Because one of the unfortunate things is when you live with a mental illness or a mental disorder, it's not very easy to find spaces that are welcoming or understanding or empathetic or just open to have you speak about your experiences without you having to filter it. And so I said, why not just create a space that people who are experiencing these things can find community and find a bunch of people who are also experiencing these things. I was extremely surprised by the feedback that I was getting. Like, a lot of people were saying, wow, I had no idea that other people are experiencing this too. I had no idea that like a lot of people didn't realize that there were several people who were experiencing these disorders in the same way and even in different ways. And it just made it very clear to me that we just don't have that kind of community. We don't have that space where we're not looking for solutions. We're not looking for whatever. We're looking to just be and be okay with being, because there are so many spaces in our lives where we have to put on a mask, where we have to pretend like we're okay, and we don't get the opportunity to just say, all right, but this is what I really face.
And Kristina, let me just say, first of all, Kadia, you're muted, but Kristina, let me just say how absolutely powerful that time was, because first of all, so many people joined, and a lot of persons were sharing, and a lot of what was repeated over and over again is, I feel seen, like somebody else feels the same way about it's not me alone, so I too want to thank you for opening that up, and also for those persons who want to get a little more insight and understand, and even know how you relate or what would help somebody in a situation. Absolutely, it was awesome. It was awesome.
And what I am happy about is that we are more open.
Yes.
These digital spaces allow us a certain level of anonymity so that we can be open. And that's one of the nature of it, because with a Twitter space, you can talk, you don't have to be seen. And in that way, there's a safety net there where I can speak my mind, I can say what I'm feeling without being seen, and that's powerful. But Carla don't have a problem with putting her face on the screen and saying, "Here, what happened now? Me not feel good. Me not feel sexy. What going on? I'm gonna lift up. We need to talk about that, Carla."
Yes,
but
criteria. It must get lift me up. Yes.
But Carla, how did More Talk come about, and why did you take the approach to be so raw and open and emotional? And what has the response to that been?
Yeah, great question. So More Talk came about by accident. I was at, oh, you can't hear me? One time for all. Praise
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Inshallah. Okay. More talk came about by accident. I was in Canada. I had bought some shoes. They didn't fit. My feet are one size bigger than the other. Bridget's just notified me they only make size 12 in December. So I must have come here with my big foot, right? Anyways, this is a different, whole other kettle of fish. And I needed to cuss in patois. And there were no Jamaicans near me. So I'm going to turn on the camera and just start cuss. And then I think because I tagged it with Family Day, because the reason I couldn't go and return the boot, which wasn't fitting me, is because it was Family Day and the bus now run, I accidentally used search engine optimization. And then next thing we know, people are watching the video. And so that's how I actually started with the vlogging. And it went on and went on. And it's interesting, this space to talk about, being a digital creative and mental health is because I pulled all the way back from vlogging. So when I started talking about scandal, a lot of people started following me. And then we go over like Pink Wall or Jamaican Métis group here, whatever it name, and see them I try to decide if me a lesbian, if I'm low-key a butch, all of these types of yes, right? And so I was like, first of all, I'm not paid enough for people to be this invasive in my life. Like I don't have a bodyguard, I don't have a Julius, I don't have one of those. And so I pulled back. And then another thing is I did a vlog on the history of Jamaican homosexuality, just really looking at it within a colonial context. Child death threat, actual death threats I was receiving. People are telling me how them come at airport, come wait for me because me is what is wrong with Jamaica, and me dirty people like me why Jamaica can't prosper, etc. And so actually being out in the space like that started to significantly impact my mental health. And so I pulled all the way back. And it was years of figuring out how to re-engage. I knew that I wanted to be authentic. I also knew that I didn't want to be an Instagram or YouTube comedian. That's where people were trying to position me. Because me not no sense, right? So some of them when me say people are gonna find it funny because I just like I don't care. I listen me come from. We not really come. We're not here, right? But I didn't want that, and it was years before I actually figured out what my voice was, which is I want to be authentic and I want to help people to heal. And how I came to that was actually, I think it's like similar to what Kristina said. I'm tired of people. Like 5 people sitting in a room going through the same thing, and the whole of we feel like we're alone because everybody is so ashamed and afraid to admit to what they're going through. So I say, you know what? Me, I got take one for the team. Me will admit when me I got through, and if it resonates with you, go ahead. If it doesn't resonate with you, then I understand. And it became easier for me to do that and understand that there might be negative implications for it when I recognize it as a part of my purpose and it was linked to something bigger for me. So that's how More Talk came about, and that's why I am the way I am. Plus, this is my personality. Like I'm pretty much the same wherever you see me. I just couldn't bother for go really develop one second personality for go online. Like me lazy.
And what has the reception been like? Because
I mean, it's been good. I'm grateful. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I think I'm right in that bubble where the only people that follow me are people who actually care to follow me. My brand is not big enough that haters are following me specifically to hate, right? So just about 10,000 followers, bubble. 11,000 followers, bubble. You see, when you reach 12K, now all of a sudden people are share your things with them friend for them come bitter you. So there has been more of that happening recently, but it's pretty good. And at this point, I'm really grateful for my followers because I don't really have people following me to try to hate on me, which knock on wood, knock on everything. Please let it remain so. Amen.
And I think it's a little less about the numbers and more about the type of community that you have built because of the nature of what you share, how you share it, and it's done from an authentic place. Authenticity is a buzzword that we've been throwing around for like a while now. But really and truly, even from this conversation, Carla, I know you a long time and we never meet yet. Yeah.
Big friend.
Yeah, big friend, long time. And it's the same kind of energy that you carry. And you talk about bringing another personality. It would have you would have must listen, your head would have a chip for you for really build out a whole another personality and maintain it all this time. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. To all the ladies now, throwing it out
yes.
to all of you, because
Yes.
you all seem to have had really great responses to these kinds of conversations that you've had. But why? Why are you, Kristina, Anika, Carla? Why are you having these conversations? What's the end goal? What are you trying to achieve? But because Carla said about taking one for the team. When Anika, because I'm familiar with Anika's content, when Anika started talking about, I was like, girl, are you sure? You want to be putting your business out here? Because we know how Jamaican people respond. When you start talking about mental health, them start thinking you're mad. And it's always a negative connotation. So you're being vulnerable. You're opening yourself up to a different kind of criticism, and people look at you like, do I really want to work with this person because she basically says she's crazy? Okay, so why would you guys, I guess, take that risk and put yourself out there like that? What was the goal?
It's something that Carla said when she realized that this was also part of her purpose. That stuck with me. I'm here like shaking my head and taking one for the team. It, like I had mentioned before, I don't know what motivated me to speak at that point in time. I do know that in private conversations, I've always spoken to people about depression and my personal struggles and so forth. But there were consequences. I did get messages from family. Anika, you sure you want to go there? I did get even a client approached me and I think she was trying to gauge my mental health just to verify that I was.
Are you here?
Yeah. She approached, and I think it was done from such a wholesome space as well. So I wasn't offended at all, and I understood that this was her means to understand. And that even further, that pushed me again, because in talking about this and like what Kristina is doing in creating these spaces, and Carla has built such an amazing tribe and community for herself, there's this other side to it where we feel that sense of community and being seen with fellow people who are suffering in this manner. But then there's that other side of people who have can I cuss?
Yes, you can. That's fine.
They have no clue. They have no fucking clue about what a person struggles with when they're dealing with an anxiety attack versus a panic attack. They have no clue. They have no clue what it's like when you have high functioning depression or anxiety and you're able to maintain a business and run a business successfully, but they don't understand. So there was that need to also be able to educate, because there are so many people out there who are suffering in silence, and they have a family member right beside them, and they feel like there's a wall, like they can't even talk to them.
Yeah, them can't cross it.
Yeah. You're muted. Kristina, what about you? Because you said something that really struck me. In our correspondence, because when I was sending out the message, when I was sending out the request to join, your response struck me because you said mentally ill and stumbling my way through life as best as I can, and that hit me so hard. I instantly connected with that on such a powerful level, because First of all, it's your openness, your freely admitting that, listen, something's wrong with my brain. Okay, there's shit going on up here.
Something right
And yeah, and that you don't have control. You're not in control of this thing. So talk to me about that, because that feeling of loss of control is one of the reasons why this thing is so difficult to deal with, and why when people say, "Oh, just get over it, you'll be fine, you'll feel better." No, man,
yeah.
you know.
And to answer the first question that you had asked about the end goal, I didn't have an end goal. As I mentioned, creating the space was a very random thing. It was really random. It was in the middle of me sort of debriefing after an entire week of a very intense spiral that I had. And so it was me just tweeting about my experience, and it came to me like, maybe other people want to share their experiences, right? So there isn't I can't say no that there is a particular end goal that I have, because I'm not even sure if I do something like that again. I don't know why I was so vulnerable at that moment. I'm not usually very vulnerable. But one of my hopes really and truly is that when we're having these discussions about mental health, because it's become, I want to use the word trendy here in Jamaica for about maybe the past 3 years or so. But I want, when we're having these discussions about mental illnesses, that we be honest about it, right? And we be honest about the fact that it's not something that can immediately go away. I'm sorry, I can exercise for 3 months. No matter how much endorphins I get from exercise, I'm still going to be I'm still going to be dealing with I'm still going to be dealing with my mental health issues. I'm still going to be dealing with my anxiety. No matter how many grounding techniques I use, it's still something that I have to deal with, right? But what I want us to think about is, how can we, especially in terms of the labor force, right, and people working in the labor force, how can we create a labor force that accepts that I am a human being who has these issues, and therefore navigating these spaces with this issue is going to be completely different, and that I need particular kinds of support to be able to do these things, right? And I think if I'm, I guess subconsciously, that was a part of my goal for more people, especially people who are in positions of power, people who are in positions of authority, to really hear and understand what Jamaican people are experiencing, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, everybody in Jamaica, I walk around with trauma upon them back, right?
Oh, yes.
One of my friends,
The preaching
yeah, me and one of my friends, one of the things that we constantly talk about is that to be born Jamaican is to be born into trauma. We're born into violence. So even if we're not officially diagnosed with a mental illness, all of us are walking around with some form of PTSD, because all of we either see somebody get shot, or know of somebody who gets shot, or somebody else who was violently murdered. So all of us are enduring this sort of thing. And so how do we go about creating spaces where people can actually navigate life and feel supported while they're managing these things, right? And again, that was one of the goals. In addition to just finding community, it's being honest about the difficulty with managing our mental, and again, with mental illnesses, I think a lot of people, as you mentioned, a lot of people think that it's just a moment of sadness. Like today you just wake up and feel sad, or you just feel nervous. You just feel nervous. No, they're actual disorders. They're things that impair your ability to do things, right? And I hoped that having these conversations where people were honest, and I'm so grateful to everybody who decided and elected to share their story, because it's not easy to do. For other people to understand that, no, I'm not lazy. I'm not just out here procrastinating for procrastination's sake. I'm not do it because it's fun. I'm not do it because it's nice. It happens because there's something going on up here. There's a whole thing going on up here that is preventing me from doing things. And I really want, again, as more people begin to have these conversations, to be honest about it, and to be honest about the actual challenges of it. That sometimes, genuinely, you have work to do, you know, so the deadline at tomorrow, and you sit down and you just look on the paper. have work to do, but you just have to edit.
Triggered.
Are you on the paper this? Are you on the laptop this?
Christina,
5 minutes before the deadline, are you on the paper this?
You have to go come off right here now because
Yeah,
me no know we
that
had show. Me no know we had show con over here, so.
We just need to be honest about it. Like, that is me. I will have something due in 5 minutes, and I mean this, I look on it because there's this anxiety that is eating at the back of you, and it's telling you a lot of things. It's telling you you're not good enough. It's telling you that you don't know how to do this, even if it's something where they do 50 times before. You don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And the loop of thoughts keeps
Keep going. So I know, Carla, you are a lot of things, and you establish a brand in this space as a healer. A part of what you do is, how do you? What's some advice you could give to persons who are struggling like this? In that capacity, what would you say to them? What are some of the things? Because I know you also have some programs that you've created and that you run. So share some tips and some advice with us about, okay, so now that we've established that we're all crazy, that we're all dealing with some kind of mental health issues, some of us so more severe than others. Some of us are more open to accepting it because acknowledgement is another problem, but some of us are more open to accepting it than others. But in the privacy of your local space watching this, what would be some advice you would give persons who are struggling?
Some advice that I would give people who are struggling. The first piece of advice that I would give anybody who is struggling is the first piece of advice I would have wanted to give to myself, which is take time with yourself. Take time with yourself. Understand that if you are dealing with a mental health concern, you are experiencing legitimate difficulties, and it's okay for you to be gentle on yourself. If you have been living with it for some time, it's possible that the world has been very hard on you. If you had to go through high school while living with depression or anxiety, then it's possible your teachers and your parents, in trying to motivate you, were very hard on you. They were probably very critical of you, and they probably said some very debilitating things to you, and you're probably in the habit of talking to yourself in that same voice. Get up and do it, why you make a big deal out of everything for? No, man, you just make everything get it on your selfie and you're weak. It's okay for you to release that voice. You can accomplish the things you want to accomplish in life alongside your mental illness without being that brutal with yourself. The other thing that I would say to people is, often we think, when is the right time for me to go and get some support? Is it bad enough for me to go and get some support? Reframe that question to yourself. Do you deserve support in life generally? Okay. Well, if you deserve support in life generally, then I suggest that you take the same approach to your mental health, which is, it doesn't have to get bad enough for you to get some support. All of us need support just going through life. That's the point of the whole Golden Girls opening theme song, right? So go and get some support. The other thing that I've been doing with myself that is useful is tapping, EFT tapping, like the emotional freedom technique. You can find practitioners. You can also probably find some videos that you can check out if you want for yourself. And I think probably the big thing that I would say is, and it links back to my first point, is if you have a mental illness, go and get the treatment that you need. Be clear that you deserve treatment and care that matches you, and go and seek that out. If you are looking for something that you can use to support yourself on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment, then one of the things you can try is this thing called the RAIN meditation. It was created by Tara Brach. And it's basically the basis of radical compassion. So when you experience a feeling, whether it is anxiety or you're sad or you just feel flustered and confused or you feel triggered by something, some trauma has come up and, an emotion is happening and it's big, RAIN. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. So sometimes when feelings come up, we immediately want to get away from them because they make us feel uncomfortable. Slow down. Like, this is your lifetime, and it's okay for you to spend it paying attention to yourself. It's absolutely okay. So when a feeling comes up, okay, I need to pay attention to myself, recognize it. I feel something. I feel a discomfort. This conversation is bringing up something. And then allow it. It's not going to kill you. The feeling is not going to kill you, right? Allow yourself to experience a feeling. Investigate it. Get curious about the feeling. When this feeling comes up, how old do I feel? How long have I had this feeling? What was the first time I started feeling like this? What does it remind me of? And then, and this is a kicker, nurture. When you experience difficult feelings, heavy emotions, when you are uncomfortable or anxious or afraid, the thing that you need most of all is softness. You need nurturing. Whatever is the treatment you would have wanted to receive when you were a child and you had big emotions that you didn't know what to do with, give that to yourself. But above all, I said this to people, please don't feel like you don't deserve to seek out care until things are drastic and terrible. You deserve to seek out care as a matter of being a human who is alive.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. Just, that was, you want to move here, write down the RAIN method, because I was like, Google, me and you later, right? But Anika, thank you so much for that, Carla. Anika, you have an alternative method, and Carla, we're going to come back to you because I know you have some programs that we can access, because guys, Carla says get the care, but care is not readily accessible to everyone, whether it's financial reasons why care is, and it's a taboo. Kristina says it's become fashionable in the last couple of years to talk about
in
mental
certain
health,
spaces.
and all of a sudden there's practitioners popping up, but going to a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, one in and of itself is a traumatic experience, especially if the person doesn't know what they're doing. And a lot of it is a lot of our psychological care Jamaica is very religion based, and that's also a problem for a lot of people, because Jesus not going to fix your bipolarism. Yeah, that's just okay, and that's another issue. And then money, you accessing the care might be problematic for you as well, because it can get expensive, especially if treatment is an ongoing thing. Plus there's medication that you may have to take to balance out some of your chemical imbalances. So there is a problem with access to care. But Anika, you have a very novel way that you go about treating your anxiety and depression. Talk to us about that, because I have tried your method and I can tell you that it worked for me, except I wasn't consistent because I have anxiety problems. You see the levels. Anika, talk to us.
So hold on, because I want to touch on what Carla had said with the RAIN method. And I didn't know that I was doing the RAIN method, but the thing is, I think people may hear this and think that it's kind of like a, step, like it's just one kind of trajectory. It's like it's linear. I don't think it is. And I think you'll fluctuate between the two. And for me, I think I was doing the RAIN method for years, until I literally going through the process of learning how to recognize what was going on and allowing it. That was also a big thing. And I think that's one commonality that I have heard from other folks who suffer with mental illness, that there's a need to almost honor what is happening and being able to start witnessing it over time. And digging in, like Carla said, into like investigating where this is coming from. And for just to emphasize again, I was on pharmaceuticals. I was medicated. I did have to go to therapy, and I recognized the need to go to therapy. And thankfully, I was able to afford therapy at the time when I needed it. What I can say is that it was probably one of the most valuable investments that I've ever made in myself. And every now and again, I still do a check-in. I'll call my therapist. Hey, Karen, I need some time. We need a check-in, and we'll move forward. But with that said, I didn't really want to be on medication for an extended period of time. And with the allowance and permission and guidance of my doctor, I was told that, hey, let's try some alternatives. So I decided to turn to cannabis. And with time, I found that I was able to wean myself off of pharmaceuticals. And I now utilize CBD. I smoke both medicinally and recreationally, and I have found a nice balance in there with my dosing. I think that's probably one of the greatest challenges that someone may have when they start utilizing cannabis for things like anxiety or depression. And it may not work for everybody. Big disclaimer right there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it has worked for me. I haven't been on pharmaceuticals in almost 4 years, which is a huge deal. And I have to use CBD every single day. So that has been a turning point for me to be able to recognize what my body needs. And I think there was even a little bit of pressure for myself when I realized I don't want to have to be dependent on anything. Like, I should be normal. Like, this is not fulfilling. And then it came to a point of acceptance and realizing that, hey, you know, this is just something that my brain needs. Like, my brain functions in a different way. It's what makes me me. It's what makes me unique. It's what gives me the compassion and the empathy that I have for other people. It's just a matter of, okay, it's time to kind of give that to myself. It's time to love myself as unconditionally as I love my family. And a lot of the times that means being selfish, and that means taking care of me first. But there is this analogy, especially as a parent, that, you know, when you go on the airplane, when we do end up traveling again at some point, they tell you put your mask on first. You have to put your mask on first. And that's kind of how I have just lived my life. Like, I have to put my mask on first. Have to. And listen, y'all, we will fuck up a lot. But it's like, and that's where the anxiety and the depression and all the mental fucked upness comes from as well, because then you start the negative self-talk when you screw up.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Shit, I should have done it. And you keep ruminating. What I will add to Carla's method is, for me, what helped is mindfulness and being present. And that practice of mindful meditation, which is very simple. It's not which I love, but it's very practical. It's a practical approach of just figuring out a way to be present, because guess what? If you have that negative self-talk that is always there, you become a lot more cognizant when that voice starts chatting to you and telling you all of that nasty shit. And you can call it out. Yeah. And you can start reframing your own negative self-talk.
Awesome. I mean, you ladies,
listen to me.
We need a session, Lord. We need a session. Kristina, what are some of the
path?
but Anika, you had a podcast and everything. What happened to that? We need it back.
It's coming back. Carla was actually one of my guests.
Yes, I think it was called While We Were High. Is it While We Were High?
Called While We Were High. It's still there. The URL is still there. One of my first guests.
I need to go and find
my
that.
therapist. I interviewed my therapist as my first guest. And you can get the URL. It's whilewewerehigh.com. It'll come back. It'll be back.
Okay, good, because that was you were talking to CEOs and business, women in business, people in business who use cannabis
who use cannabis in some form or another.
All right, cool. Kristina, what are some of the coping methods that you can share with persons to manage when they are going through a rough patch like you did recently?
To be honest, I try to steer clear of offering any sort of advice to anyone, because the fact of the matter is that as much as we might have the same mental health conditions and we might have similar experiences, everybody is different and everybody's response to things are different. So I can share a few of what I do, which, let me be honest with you, I'm not consistent with any of these. I'm not, because sometimes they just don't feel accessible within the moment, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that's been consistent with my life that I didn't know was useful until more recently was writing. I've always been writing, always been journaling. I've had so many diaries and journals throughout my life, and I find it important because I'm somebody that lives in her head, right?
Ooh, child.
Always there. There are always 10 things going on. And so I find it really useful to sometimes let all of that out, because sometimes I'm thinking some really messed up things. And you can't say that to the people where you love, right? So sometimes it makes more sense for me to just write it and get it all out. Sometimes extremely unfiltered, extremely raw. And then what that does for me sometimes again is that it allows me to kind of make connections.
Process.
Yeah, it helps me to process, and it helps me to navigate those thoughts. Why did that come up? What was the thing that triggered it? Is it possible that I made that situation up in my mind and that it didn't actually go like that, you know? Another thing that I'd say was really useful, and this only happened, I'd say maybe the tail end of last year, is finding a community of people who really love and care for you. And I know that that's a privilege, and a lot of people don't have access to that or are able to do that. Basically, when you have a group of people who are committed to loving you and committed to supporting you, it makes navigating these moments a lot easier, because we know that our mental illnesses can oftentimes make us isolate and just feel like we're the only person in the world and nobody gives a shit about me. I just me and I just me one. I'm just have to do this for myself. At least mine does. So having a group of people who are completely committed to you and committed to loving you, committed to supporting you, and also committed to reminding you that you're not here alone and that you have somebody to carry to walk with you through this has been super important and super helpful. I would say go to therapy, but I try not to push that. And let me tell you why. And it's nothing against therapy. I think therapy is great. It's just that I know the difficulties with finding a therapist that's good for you. And also therapy is expensive, really expensive. And psychiatry is expensive, as you mentioned before. Psychiatry is really expensive in Jamaica. And I feel like we need to have a discussion about that, about how we can get community care to be a thing, because it's just way too expensive to go to a psychiatrist. So I was on medication for a while and I stopped, mostly because it's really expensive. But also, I think like Anika, I don't want to be on this for the rest of my life. And with my mental health condition, that is the thing, right? With bipolar disorder, it's a lifelong thing. You always have to be on medication. But I also didn't like how I felt on medication. Unlike Anika, tried alternatives. I won't say all of them on this podcast, but I tried alternatives, and those have been useful. So yeah, just to reiterate, I'd say writing was really helpful for me because it helps me to process my thoughts, and also having a community that I can lean in on, a community where I know that I can say, listen, today on my day, you're not gonna get nothing from me. I just me this today. And them going, that's okay. I'm still here. I'll always be here. When you're ready for come out from under your shell, I'm still gonna be here for you. And that's been really critical and really important for me.
Awesome. Carla, we are going to close out with you because I know you have some programs that you have that persons can also access as an alternative to formal care, because as I say, formal care is not accessible for many reasons, some of which I've already listed, but there are so many other reasons why persons just not interested in going to formal care. So what are some of the programs that you have that we can access, and how can we access them?
Yeah, thanks for that. So I am a certified life coach, and as a certified life coach, I'm certified in solution focused coaching, neuro linguistic programming, all of that type of stuff. So the way
what?
Yeah,
Definitely explain that.
it's like brain training. It's like brain
Ah,
training, right? So you know how some of us, we will kind of revert to particular ways of thinking, of viewing the world, and a lot of them are self-defeating. You can train your brain away from that, basically by interrogating your thoughts. So there are different techniques that you can use, including basically calling out your own thought as a lie and be like, "That's not facts, and here is why you're not a truth." Right? Um, and these are the types of things that the people like coach have to do. Like, them have to look on them thoughts and be like, lie, 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 and start again. So, so folks can do one-on-one coaching with me. And I find that for a lot of my coaches, the self-esteem coaching program actually forms the basis of it, because most of us come in with either low self-esteem or a lot of negative self-thought, or a lot of self-talk, or a lot of self-defeating thoughts that actually stand in the way of us achieving the things we want to achieve, or just exacerbate things that, you know, would lead us to feel badly or not, you know, function at our optimal level. And at this point, I'm also in the process of developing some group coaching, because I'm aware that folks need different types of care, because I'm aware that cost is a consideration. And I want to make sure that it's as accessible as possible. So I think within like about a month or so, you should see some of my group coaching programs dropping. For folks who are looking to spend a little time with themselves, just in a like the privacy of them yard where nobody can see them, they can do, if they go to my page, my link tree, I have a self-loving self-audit. And it's really just an opportunity for you to sit with yourself and reflect on what you have achieved so you can move forward. Why? A lot of us feel like we're not doing nothing, and it contributes to us feeling terribly in our days. We feel like we're not achieve nothing. We feel like everybody life will do better than free life. We feel like, say, all of the work we run up and down, it is not leading anywhere. And so sometimes actually forcing yourself to sit down and look at what you achieved can significantly shift your relationship with yourself in terms of you as a person who achieves things. But more than that, it's actually, so many of us are running after a life that we're not sure we want anymore, because we haven't actually thought about how the life we are moving towards connects with who we actually are. And that's one of the things that I think is core to us feeling good about ourselves. If people want to contact me, they can contact me at Coach Carla Moore at gmail.com. And if you want coaching stuff specifically, they can find me over at Caribbean Life Coach. So generally, me dey over more talk JA, I create a bag of drama. But if you want coaching things specifically, you can go to Caribbean Life Coach and find them over there.
all right, ladies.
Love
Thank
it.
you guys so much. No, we had an extended conversation because
just
there's
so
so
much
much
to
more I want to talk
explore.
about, and we
Yeah.
just couldn't break. And you know, I'm thinking now that we definitely need a part two, Kristina. Maybe not necessarily a Twitter Spaces, but a bigger conversation.
I've been thinking about it,
Yeah.
especially because I think it's also important to explore the other mental illnesses that exist and giving those
Yeah.
people spaces. And Carla actually did this last year,
Yeah.
and that was really great.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe.
Let's get together and hopefully we can collaborate and do something, because it's just so necessary. And sometimes, you know, these things are therapeutic for us as well, because myself, I also have a serious anxiety issues which sometimes prevent me from leaving my yard for months
Listen.
at time.
Listen,
I have, it's a situation where my father have to call me every day and go, did you open the door and go outside today? Because I won't even open my front door to go outside. That's how bad it can get for me. And then I sit down in here, and I don't know who said it, ruminating and thinking about all the things I've not done and how I'm getting older and I'm not accomplished. And these things imprison you, and it has physically imprisoned me in my own home. So this is definitely something I want to explore more about, because it's only since acknowledging that I actually have a problem, and not just it, because you know, Carla said it, you grow up hearing, yes, lad man, you're soft, get over it. I grew up with that in some ways as well, and you internalize that, and you think, okay,
you just need to get over it.
Yeah, you don't see it as a problem.
Yeah.
You see it as just you not being enough. and
Yeah.
you not being good enough or you whatever, until you start realizing that actually there's nothing I can do about it. It's just how my brain is that that's
Yeah.
just how I am, and I
Yeah.
need to get help for it. And Anika talked about understanding your triggers. Jesus, the moment I started, first it takes acknowledgement, and then trying to figure out, okay, what are some of my triggers, and then learning to avoid them, or when you can't avoid them, learning to work through them in healthy ways.
Yeah.
Healthy ways, because
Not destructive. Yep.
some of
Next
my
year.
unhealthy ways of dealing with this is sexual promiscuity, to be quite honest with you. And I see Carla said something. You muted, Carla. You're muted.
Unmute.
No, sorry, I was saying facts because sex feel nice. And the
Yeah.
little sex can make you feel better when I got other things that go on.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, it does. And I heard when you said something, you said something, Carla, when you're saying masturbate, because sometimes it's the feel good part of the sex that you're interested in, not necessarily the person.
The
And
other
then
part.
you go and you do that. So many other things come
can
along with
happen.
that, and then
Yeah.
it is such a vicious cycle, because then you're bringing these additional issues on top of the issues they already are. It's like, normally just want somebody.
See you, Anir, I look for you.
So-
Anir, I look for you, want your attention. Like,
Yeah.
when there's a for folks who like might want resources or like want to like see other people in Jamaica or from the Caribbean talk about their experiences, they can look at my IGTV. Kristina was talking about it. I did an Upful series that was all about demystifying mental health. So for like people with bipolar, borderline personality, ADHD, like the whole life, they can watch it on IGTV. And
Yeah.
a lot of people them from bipolar come and say they look at bipolar or something, make you want to have enough sex. I mean, I said then see it then.
Yeah, that's how it manifests.
When you're hypomanic, that's one of the ways that it can
yes,
manifest.
and it even brings about intense feelings of loneliness, and that has been an issue for me of late. I feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna die alone and nobody's gonna love me, and I'm not gonna have a husband, and I'm gonna have man, and I'm not gonna have children. I don't even want children. So when you get into that state, all of a sudden, my womb, it's like, bitch.
You're talking about triggers, and I would just want to share one of my personal observations. When I have a hard time choosing an emoji in response to just a simple text message,
something wrong.
Random. It seems really simple and random, but that's actually one of my telltale triggers. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Do I do the smiley with the tears, or do I do the sideways smile? And I start overthinking this shit.
Yeah.
That's when I know that something is happening. Yeah. So even those little things, like start paying attention to where you
and in the process, getting to know yourself a lot better. It's such a fulfilling process. But listen, I could go on. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, we really could continue for the entire morning. As you would have shared, Kada, you share your experience. For me, I felt I caught myself holding my hands a certain way, and and I'm just like, okay, Monique, all right, so we know you're triggered. Okay.
Yeah.
But as you said, Kay, we need to find a way to kind of continue this conversation. And we have your contact, so we'll be in touch. All right,
Thank
guys.
you so much, ladies. Really appreciate you.
And appreciate you guys joining and being on with us. Okay, that was such a beautiful and triggering conversation. Oh God, is that me?
All right. We lost connection there for a minute.
All right. Okay.
So sorry about that, guys. So that was an awesome conversation. Monique, we definitely need to
Yes.
have a more extended format where we can talk about that, because
Yeah.
sometimes being open and admitting it, as Carla said, taking one for the team, you make other people comfortable enough to start,
Yeah, sharing.
sharing and stuff. But
Yeah.
who has
Yeah.
been extremely patient, Monique?
Our next guest.
Our next guest. Andre has been extremely patient, and
Yeah.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful for him still being on, guys. In our people and product segment,
Yes.
we have with us Andre Livingston. Andre is a graphic designer, but he's also the founder of an apparel line called Living High. It's a lifestyle brand. Live
Live
High,
Yeah.
right? It's a lifestyle brand that promotes positivity and good vibes in a uniquely Jamaican way. I so that have something to do with cannabis, because once I mention Jamaica, you can't not mention weed. Welcome,
Hi, hey
Andre.
guys, what's up? What's up?
Awesome. Happy to have you.
Yes.
As we're talking about digital well-being, about well-being overall, we really thought it was important for us to talk to you, somebody who has been so intentional about creating a community of people, not just about hey we love weed, but also about promoting real positivity, about having a community. We talked about the importance of that a while ago. And so we said, we had to give you a call. So Andre, can you tell us a little bit about Live High? I mean, we gave our version of it, but going from the horse's mouth, what is Live High and why did you get started?
So Live High, I like to define it as a lifestyle brand. And for us, that means, essentially a lifestyle brand identifies with a particular community, and essentially speaks for that community, communicates with that community, and sort of provides as many means to experience the lifestyle that connects that community for that same community and for new people who might be interested from afar. So that's essentially what we do. Our main focus, we kind of communicate that through products and content, which are they're technically related based on how we how we run the brand. We also do events and experiences, but of course COVID, so we had to dial back on that a bit and just focus more on product and content.
And you literally just answered the other question, because I'm familiar with your brand, and I know that you guys did a lot of physical meetups and like pars, to talk and reason. But I saw something on your Instagram recently where you did a bit of a hybrid situation with like a treasure hunt. So what other ways have you been? And even I've been seeing some stuff in the pipeline, and you've been teasing some things, like you did a collaboration recently with you did a cipher with Alt Media and Stammer. So how have you kind of adjusted, say, with all of the COVID restrictions and stuff?
I mean, the beautiful thing about us is that we're positioned in an industry that is getting more and more contactless from a global perspective. So you have an online store, it kind of, people don't have to go inside a physical store to buy a product anymore. And while that is also beautiful, and it's a novel experience, I find that the digital space has given us more of an opportunity to get creative with how people experience the product, So I think, a physical space, people walk in the window shop and, if you pay attention to detail, you can have staff, or you should, from my perspective, have staff that interact and engage the customers. But there's only so much you can do within the window of a customer coming in, making a purchase and leaving, because they're not going to stay in your store for an hour for you to entertain them.
Yeah.
But online, they get to experience the brand in on their own time and in different chunks. So we are able to curate just an overall community experience that fits into that. So it gives us more leverage to be bold and expansive and experimental.
Yeah, and what I really love is you've done a lot of collaborations. A lot of the content that we've seen have been collaborations. Like you did something for 420, which you did with Alt Media and Stomach. But I've been seeing some other major collaborations. I've seen Chronics. We've seen Protege, we've seen Taurus Riley, either in some way or another, either supporting your merch or you guys actually having a formal collaboration with the Live High team. So tell us a little bit about those collabs and how they came about.
Boy, sometimes it's even hard for me to believe, but all of that happened very organically. I mean, we have relations within the music industry and the overall creative space locally.
Yeah.
And usually it's a tight space. So you will tend to have relationships with people who have relationships with different celebrities and different influential people within the space. But it was never a case of us trying to reach out to them to get a cosign or to get them to promote some stuff. I personally believe that, I mean, you can make those things happen, but it doesn't give me any clear understanding of whether the brand is actually doing well. So I'm very heavy on organic growth and organic impact.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really how it happened. They saw the brand through different means and they reached out to either purchase. It's only recently I started giving them free merch. Everything that they had before that, they reached out to purchase on their own, which was very encouraging for us. And for even the Protege collaboration, he reached out specifically to us, wanting to collaborate with us on his merch for 420. And that said a lot.
Yes.
They are genuine fans of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just happened like that, and it means that we're doing something good.
Yeah, and it's definitely a nod in terms of what we mentioned about actually building a community, because you've mentioned these celebrities, because Taurus and Chronics and Protege and a Dibby group of people. And those were just the most recent names that we saw in the lineup. But they see and feel as a part of the family, so as a part of the community, that they wanted to do the collaboration. So absolutely. And it comes back to something else that you said about creating a full experience around how people engage your brand, because it's not just a t-shirt that says I'm high, or it's, and in fact the designs are not Jamaica it's not that either. It's tapping into the full lifestyle. So tell me a little bit, how can people actually support Live High? How can they support you?
Well, we mainly communicate and share through Instagram. So you can follow us at Live High Meds. That's LIVEHIGHMEDS on Instagram. And we have a website as well, because what we're doing is outside of, as you'd have seen, content and product. But it's not just having content for content's sake. We're actually focused on building out a proper content arm of the brand. So our website, while you can purchase because it's an online store, we have a blog section that shares and hosts all of our content that we're going to be pushing a lot more. So it's important as well that people engage with the website, and that is livehigh.store. So those are the two ways you can interact with the brand, see what we have going on, how we do things, and just become a part of the community.
And do you have anything that maybe coming up, any announcements that you want to make, anything that you want to plug? This is your chance.
So, I mean, those who are in the community and who would see, what we do kind of know that it's always sort of hush hush until it happens. But there's always something happening. I think the one thing that we can say for sure is that we have some content to be released this week. We had teased it a couple weeks ago. It's called High Flame, and what it is, it's not a cooking show, but it's sort of a feature that is supposed to precede a cookbook that we're working on with two local culinary artists, Sherry Hartley and Brittany Blackwood. But in the feature, we essentially speak to them just about their stories, how they got into cannabis, and the fact that they infuse cannabis into their cooking. So they speak about that in the feature, but we also show the process of preparing two meals. One of them very Jamaican, the other one, it's a Jamaican favorite, but with a twist.
Yeah.
But the cookbook is really supposed to be around sharing Jamaican dishes, all infused with cannabis. So, a cannabis steamed fish, for argument's sake, and stuff like that. So, that's what the book is going to be about, and this feature is going to precede that. So that's releasing this week, either Thursday or Friday.
Wow.
So you can look out for that.
Wow.
And we'll have recipes as well, so people can try, what they see.
Turn them and make fashion.
Yeah.
Andre, oh my God, I am absolutely proud of you. Know from when this was an idea, and man, I'm going to print some shirt, and into now, literally, you've created a brand, and we love to see it. And purpose, like it's not just something nice to have, and it's not just for money. Yes, you'll earn from it, but it has so much more meaning. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andre.
Thanks for having me.
Did you share your social media pages? You shared your website.
Man, the website is www.livehigh.store, and the IG page is Live High Meds. That's LIVEHIGHMEDS.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Andre.
Take care.
Kadia, you're muted.
All right, that was awesome. But Monique,
yes,
trivia question. The answer to the trivia question.
Yes. All right. So, this popular internet slang is used a lot in rap songs, and the queen herself, Beyonce, used it in the mega hit Savage remix with Megan Thee Stallion. But what does demon time actually mean? Demon time actually refers to the live virtual strip club events on Instagram that normally happen after 10 p.m. So the slang grew in popularity due to the closure of strip clubs because people were looking for alternative ways to be entertained. Because of COVID-19, strip clubs were closed, and so, people at home. So Justin LaBoy started an Instagram live stream called The Respectfully Justin Show, where he'd feature, they called them dancers, who would come on and dance provocatively on the show. And what he would do is...
Monique, you afraid for a stripper?
Yeah, he would pin their Cash App for viewers of his live stream, because he has a huge audience. He's an ex-football player, I think, for people to tip. And some people would make up to $4,000 US a night.
Strippers,
and they were referred to as demons. So whenever he teased about demon time, it's because he was going live. So it was further popularized and made more mainstream in the song Savage remix with Megan Thee Stallion, with the line, hips tick tock when I dance on that demon time. She must set an OnlyFans. Hey, 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 yeah. So
And it has been used in several rap songs.
Yeah.
Mentioning that demon time. So it's nothing to do with Satan, people. It's just about the time of night the event happened, and the kind of event that is happening is it's considered adult time.
Yes,
And yeah, so that is really how it came out. David, you came so close, but it's not just the time for the event, is what was happening at that time for the event. So the prize goes unclaimed again this week, Monique. Unfortunately, the prize is still there, which is you can pick anything from the Pro Jamaican store except for the doormats. So the prize goes unclaimed again. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Digital Jamaica Live show. We have a new podcast episode out with Dr.
Yes.
Say it with me now. Doctor.
Camille
Ricketts, who graduated last week, Wednesday, from Weill Cornell Medicine with a PhD in computational biology. In the episode, we talk about how he figured out a way to mix his love for computers and computer science and his love for research and scientific-based research, how he managed to merge those two together to go into the bioinformatics field and eventually decide that he wanted to study to become a computational biologist, which is by no means a small feat. That's actually an incredible difficult PhD to have, but he successfully defended his thesis with him Jamaica badge and him Jamaica thing. Yeah, we're so proud of him. We also talked about how he couldn't have been this successful without the community. His parents, his teachers, his friends, even strangers who offered advice, and because he was exposed at an early age to science and to technology through some programs that you run, through some summer programs that you run. We also talk about the difficulties with children outside of corporate areas, outside of Kingston and Portmore, etc., having access to these programs, because Kamir is from Montego Bay, and he had to travel to Kingston for these programs, but not a lot of people can
have
do that.
The resources.
The resources. So because of that, he started the Minds Off initiative, which is offering support for children who don't have that community base that he did. At least they will have the support of him and his mentors through that initiative. So big up, Kamir. Thank you so much for talking to us. It's a great episode. Go and listen to it. And on that note, we have to say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Next week. All right, guys.
I will have to come again with some continuation, because Carla and Kristina and Anika make my heart go plep like.
Yeah, that was an amazing conversation. And thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for supporting the Digital Jamaica Network. We platform network. Ooh, speaking it into being.
My girl, I heard it, but I left it.
The Digital Jamaica platform, again, the Digital Jamaica Live show is sponsored by G5 Cybersecurity, protecting businesses and families online. Okay, guys, we will see you next week. Bye.